Hi, welcome to the How She Made It series, everything that you need to know about becoming a wealthy woman. I am your host, Tiffany Scott, the founder of You, Me, She Collective and Sister Suppers. And today we have the beautiful Judith White from Judith A. White Stylist. Judith, please introduce yourself. Welcome. Thank you. I'm so excited to have you here. And why don't you just start with why you do what you do?
Okay. So as Tiffany said, I'm Judith A. White Stylist. I'm a personal stylist here in the greater Los Angeles area. Um, I think the reason why I became a personal stylist, or I am a personal stylist, is because I absolutely love everything that has to do with fashion and style. Um, I love it because it's visual, and I also like the way it makes people feel. Like when they dress a certain way, you can totally tell it, like in their attitude, the way they carry themselves. Um, and I just love it. I love it how it can just change your whole perspective on you, and then also change your perspective on other people just by the way they dress.
Yeah, I agree with you. I come from a fashion apparel background, and I know when I got deeper into that, and I was also raised by a mum that was loved to dress really well as well. So I grew up around that. But when you're wearing clothes that feel good, it makes you feel good. But for some
Yes.
people, that can be really intimidating, or they might think that that's really shallow, or it's not important. What would you say to people like that, that are either it's not important, or it's shallow, it's materialistic? What's been your experience?
I say the one thing I tell a lot of women in particular is to stop looking to magazines or shows to tell you how you should feel about yourself. It's like if it resonates with you, that's what's going to come out. So it's just like it's about your personality. That's what your personal style will reflect. So if you have a bold personality, that can totally be reflective in your personal style, like with the jewelry you choose or the accessories that you choose. But my first thing would be like, you don't have to look to a fashion magazine. I look to those for just great inspiration, but I don't necessarily look to them to tell me like, oh, this is what I should wear. This is how I should wear it. The truth be told, and especially since both you and I came from like fashion apparel backgrounds, like the people who beat to their own drum, I hope I said that correctly,
Yeah.
those are the people that the fashion industry really look toward because they have a very distinct voice, they have a very distinct way of looking at how they sound. That's who inspires them to inspire their readers or their customers. And so that's why I would say it's like you don't need to look to the fashion magazine to tell you what to do or how to dress. Look to that as an inspiration. So if you like yellow or if you like gold, incorporate it into your dress because you'll start feeling that way when you're like, oh, this is my favorite color. You'll just carry yourself different. And that would be my first suggestion. Like you don't need a magazine or a show to tell you how to feel about something. That really needs to come from within. And I think once I get women talking about that, like, oh, I love this because they forget that. And I was like, okay, great. Let's make that come out in your clothing.
And while we're speaking about being unique, what does your awesome shirt say?
It says dress in your inside voice. So I absolutely love this shirt. I got this from Chico's, so they didn't pay me to say that, but I love it because I think sometimes we forget our own voice and forget who we're supposed to represent, which is ourselves, no matter what we do. And so I wanted to wear that when I did my interview with you, but I always want to make sure that people I work with, it's about you and what you want to represent, and it's your voice, not somebody else's voice. I'm just helping you channel it so that it comes out the way you want it in terms of visuals, how you present yourself to the world. But that's the big thing, is like you want you to come out, not the you that you think you're supposed to be. You want who you want to be. And then that feels more authentic. And I find that when I do that, when I work with clients, when I do that, they will keep with what I suggest. They'll keep with it because it's them and it's not me saying like you need to wear this with that. That doesn't feel authentic to me, and that doesn't feel very good. And then people are just like, I'm gonna ditch that. Not gonna wear that. And I don't want them to feel like that. And I want them, it's like it's very easy. It's like if you like a casual lifestyle or if you like this is how we can incorporate that. and it's reflective of you, and it feels good, and it feels authentic to you, and that's something that people can keep up with, as opposed to when somebody tells you you have to do something. People tend not to want to stick with that, and they're just like, I don't like that. That doesn't feel like me. And then I always remind women too that your fashion and your style will evolve. So
Mm.
as you change, that's going to evolve. Like, I'm not dressing the same way I did when I was a teenager in the 80s. Because I know, I wish I could, because I'd have my, I don't know if I'd be Madonna or if I would be Tina Marie. It'd be like a mix up between the two. Um, but again, it's like your style changes, and you will change, and things in your life will change, and things that were important to you in your 20s or may not be that important to you in your 30s and 40s. So you will see that that's reflective. And I always remind women, like, no, it's not. I was like, just go back and look at pictures. Like, you can always tell where you were at when you go back and look at pictures of yourself, and you're like, oh yeah. That's when I got my first corporate job. Or, hey, this is when I was hanging out with my girls. I was like, see, it's like you can just like look at yourself and tell what's going on in your life just by how you're dressed.
Yeah, and that's what I love about, it's some of the things I love about fashion is that there's these cycles that happen, right? Like,
Right.
I know you've got a 16-year-old daughter. Like, you're probably seeing your daughter wear something that you used to wear back in the 90s or the 80s, but there's always a twist or
Yes.
a change to it. But when you talk about individuality, that can be really important for people. But there's so much of the same out there as well. And I think what you seem to do really well is bring affordability and bring uniqueness into each person, so they feel comfortable, so they're not walking around things that someone says, this is what's in fashion right now, this is what you should wear, but taking a little bit of that influence and adjusting it to their personal style, which I think is really, really important. And
Yeah. I know, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off today, but I think a lot of times people have a misconception of what a personal stylist is. So they think a personal stylist is like, oh, they're going to tell me how to dress or what I should wear. And I always tell people, I'm not going to tell you what to wear or how to dress. I'm just going to help you create the vision that you want to get out there. So it's like, I think sometimes people get stuck in their head and they're like, oh, I'm going to wait until I lose weight, or I'm going to wait until I get this fabulous job, or I'm going to wait until I get this. And I was like, you don't need to wait for that. Like, I had a great mentor tell me when I was wanting to get a certain job, and he was like, dress the part. Just dress the part. Like, come in and dress the part. And when I dressed that way, I started to act that way, and people started to treat me in that way. And I simply just changed the way I showed up visually in my clothes. But the one thing I'd like to remind people is just like, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just helping you like get your vision together. Just like a business coach will help you get your business plan together. A personal trainer helps you get your body in shape, or helps you get that what you want in terms of health, helps you do that. That's what a stylist does with clothes. So it helps you make sure that we keep we want you to come out, not the version that, hey, this is Judy White. I want it to be like, hey, I helped you get this. This is all you. I think that's really important. At least to me, when I work with people, that's really important, that they understand that this is about them, and this is how they want, what they want to be seen as.
And I think your story, your journey through your experience has got a lot to do with that authenticity and being real to you. And you've got such a powerful story, and I love it. I love the first time you shared it with me, how fashion really inspired you to show up as you fully, and also how much of an influence your mum particularly and your dad were on your journey as well. Can you share a little bit more about how fashion has shaped you through your story?
Of course. So for me, fashion was like huge for me, especially in my teen years. That's always like the awkward time. But for those who don't know, I was burned when I turned 2 years old, like 15 days after I turned 2 years old. So I suffered third and fourth degree burns, primarily to my face and my hands and a little bit on my legs. And I always struggled, like, especially when I was really young, like, if I were just beautiful, I just wish I was beautiful. If I didn't have any scars, that was going to be like my cure-all. Like, that was going to fix everything for me. If I could not have any scars, and if I could just be beautiful, I thought like that would just be my saving grace. And oddly enough, I was just really drawn to fashion magazines. One, I love the clothes, but then I also love the way that, like, I could see the same model in one um, photograph, but then I could see her in something else dressed a totally different way. And like my whole perception of how she was dressed changed. And for me, I was like, oh, I can kind of do that for myself. I can change the narrative about how people see me. I was like, one of my things, like, I didn't want people to feel sorry for me, like, oh, Rosie here. I didn't want that to come out. And I think when people meet me, that, you know, hopefully that doesn't come out, but that was a real concern. I didn't want people to feel sorry for me, like, oh, my life was so tragic. And I always tell people when they meet me, I was like, my life is not tragic. I was like, a bad thing happened to me, but bad things happen to good people. But I think the difference between me and other people is, like, you can physically see what happened to me, whereas you may not be able to see what physically happened to somebody else, but it doesn't mean their story or what happened to them is any less significant. But fashion was just huge to me because I was just like, oh, the way I'm dressed can really change how people perceive me and how I perceive myself. So I'm sure you heard, like, you got to fake it till you make it. So I was just like, you know, I had to figure out, like, how I dress, and I just had fun with it. And it's just like, I think for me at first it was like, where people, I always knew I had their attention, which was a good thing, but it was just how I was going to channel their attention. So I never wanted for people like, oh, who's that? I was like, I mean, I kind of feel like a celebrity. I always knew people were looking at me, but I could change why they were looking at me. So maybe, you know, at first it was like, they're not going to ask me about, like, what happened to me. Like, oh my God, those are some fabulous shoes. Or I like that shirt you have on. And then we start talking about other stuff. And then evidently, like, oh, I was going to ask you about, you know, like, to you, uh, and that totally just blew my mind. You're not like what I thought. I thought you would be so sad, and I was just like, you be depressed, and I was like, no. I was like, how can you be depressed wearing like this color or these earrings? Like, people were like, true. But it was just, that was like the big thing for me, especially when I was a teenager. I just like, it was just life altering to me. And I think the one thing, especially with my parents, they were a huge influence. They just allowed me to, one, play around with fashion, which they were just like, who could her closet just get any more stuff with clothes? But it allowed me to, like, show who I was and, you know, be who I am. And I get to determine, like, that, how people perceive me and how I wanted to be perceived, especially since my mom was, I think the one big thing that my mother always told me was, like, I'm not always going to be there with you. So how are you going to deal with people when they stare at you, like they make comments to you? It's like, how are you going to deal with that? And so fashion actually helped me deal with that. First, like, I'm going to just change the narrative. At first, I didn't want, because I didn't want to maybe talk about it at first, but I'll just change the subject. And then now, I think now with the way I dress, I feel more comfortable talking about what happened to me, talking about my story. Again, that was my evolution and my progression. But at first it was just like, oh, I'm gonna change their opinion about me. And now, as I've grown up, it was like, I don't really have to change their opinion. People's opinion is gonna be what it is. But I can just look great doing it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I so love that you're talking about, like, it was really about changing the narrative and putting on the clothes that made you feel good and made you feel confident. Change that in people. So it wasn't the first question that they asked you, that they got to see really the whole you, not just the scarred you per se. It was like, I'm a person. I am a person with a story and background, and I'm a professional, and I'm all these sorts of things. So it's like, it's kind of like, for want of a better word, like putting on a suit of armor, but not armor. That's like a defensive thing. But you really did shape who you were through what you wear, and that allows you to bring out for you, and I think for a lot of us, I know for me, even more of your personality. And you are so vivacious and so outgoing, and I've seen you in many social settings, and you really do light up the room because of who you are. And I think it doesn't take away from the experience that you've had. Like, that's, you know, it's tragic, but just it makes you such a inspiring person, because there's no excuses with you. This is who I am. this is the way
Right.
I am, which I really love.
And I think as a personal stylist, that's the one thing that I help people with is one, I want them to feel comfortable with themselves and understand that like it's gonna change and it's okay if like, you know, like I don't want to make people feel like, oh, am I gonna be? You're not gonna always be happy. It's not gonna always be this. But honestly, it's like I wear certain things because it changes my mood. So like if I want to feel bold, I'll wear bold jewelry. Like I'm wearing my sparkly because I'm all about sparkle. So it really like when I first got into fashion, it really made me feel good. I was like, I want to feel good about myself so that will reflect out. I didn't know I was doing it at the time, but I wanted that to reflect out to people that I'm okay with what happened to me. I feel good about me. I like who I am. And that was also a progression and a process for me too as well, to where I am like now. I mean, I'm going to turn 50 this year, and it's hard to believe that it was like 48 years ago that my accident happened. But it's been, you know, it's been a journey. And the other thing is that I tell women when they work with me, it's just like, you know, like if you're having a tough time, like I love to put on like my favorite dress. Well, I have my own little dress party, so that's probably kooky, but it makes it makes me feel a certain way, or I'll wear a certain color because I want to feel like if I want to feel love, I'll wear pink or red or whatever it is. It just makes me feel a certain way. And sometimes we need that at first to help us get that feeling so that we can keep it. And then it becomes just second nature. And that's what I tell a lot of women. I was like, how it will feel uncomfortable at first, but then how you're dressing, it will become second nature because that's who you are. You know, if you want to be this person, you got to start to become that person, and you got to take baby steps to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So what would be some like maybe 3 tips you'd give for people that feel like they don't have a sense of fashion, or they don't know how to coordinate, or they don't know how to, you know, just put things together that look good or even make them feel good?
I would say like the first thing is like I always like let's do baby steps. Like I always tell them to start with accessories. Like if you have a favorite color and you're not really sure, because I get a lot of people like I'm not really sure how to wear a color. I was like start with accessories. Like wear a colorful scarf, wear colorful shoes or bangles or whatever it is. Like work your way into it instead of like I'm just gonna be full on in the color, because that may feel really uncomfortable and you may not want to do that. But if you like, oh, I'm going to start with like, I love red, so I'm going to wear some really cute red pumps or red sandals or red tennis shoes or whatever that is. Like start with that. That would be my first tip. My second tip would be is get the fit right. And like I'm always blown away. People are like, oh, I just got to go buy something new. And I was like, no, you just need to take that in. Like, you just, you know, it doesn't fit right. You know, it's like people think of like just because you saw it on the mannequin. I always tell people, I was like, especially when I work, since I work in retail sometimes, I always tell people, like, do you know how many pins are in that to make that look fitted to that mannequin? It's like, you know, it's just like that's not, you know, you're not going to walk around with pins, but you can go to a tailor or a seamstress and you can knit this in, and that will totally change how it looks because now it's conformed to your body, whatever shape, you know, whatever shape you are, and it makes a huge difference. So really look for the fit, and if it's not fitting right, go take it to like your local cleaners and have them make the adjustments, and that will change like a $20 top to making people like, oh my God, is that an Oscar de la Renta? Is that like haute couture? And that would be my second tip. My third tip would be get your closet organized. Get your closet organized. See what you really have. I can't tell you how many people have, I was a victim of this, have so much stuff in their closet that has tags on it. They're not wearing it, and they're not wearing it because they don't have it organized. They don't know what they have. So see what you have first.
Yeah, they're great, great tips, really good tips. Who some of the people that have inspired you on your journey?
I have to definitely say, I have to say my parents and my brothers. I feel really lucky and blessed that I had amazing parents and two younger siblings, my brothers, who just, you know, allowed me to be myself, but also were honest with me. You know, it's just like, okay, think we've been sad or we've been angry enough. It's time to move on. So they weren't like yes people to me, which was really great, because sometimes I think, especially people think like, oh, you probably get everything you want. And I'm like, no, I don't think you've met my family. They don't really fall for that. You know? Can't you, and I think that was the great thing about my parents, was like, you can't allow what happened to you to use as an excuse to, for you to change people's opinion of you. So, you know, that happened to you, that happened to you. Don't use that as a crutch or as an excuse not to do something for yourself or to allow people to feel a certain way about you. So that was been my hugest mentors, I would say.
Wow, that's so beautiful. So, so beautiful. And obviously this series is about, what it takes to become a wealthy woman. What do you think wealth means to you? What do you think? What does it mean to you?
I think that has really, really changed. If you said this to me in my 20s, I'd have been like, making lots of money. I think, wealth for me now is just, I think, quality time. Like, I can't tell you how important, like, having time for myself, for my family, especially for my daughter, because my daughter's going to turn 16 and in a few years will be fleeing the nest. But just having the time, I think that is the biggest thing. Is like, that's the one thing that we don't have a limited amount of time with, and it's just really valuable about how you use your time and who you allow to have part of your time. So that to me is super important.
Yeah, that is the elusive time, creating the time. We all have the time, really, for those things that are most important to us.
True.
And life is short too. I was talking to a friend about this the other day. It's like really embracing each moment and being present to that, rather than being caught up on what's next or what we need to do or how we need to show up. And I think that's what you really live by as well, which is a really great reminder.
Yeah, and it's like, it's a work in progress. I tell people, it's like, it is a work in progress. And it's like it's so funny, like things that when you look back on your life and you think, like, when you're in your 20s, like, I thought that was important. And now you're like, as I get close to 15, I was like, what was I thinking? Like, and my daughter also reminds me, she's like, what were you wearing? What was going on? She's like, okay, well, your mother thought she was the bomb.com, but clearly I guess I wasn't.
She
but
keeps
it's just,
you in check.
yeah, she keeps me in check, but she also just makes me realize, like, the importance of, like, making sure you're present and just really valuing the time that you have with people, like, just enjoying and living and being present in the moment. I think we're so much thinking so far ahead that we forget about where we are right now, and we miss out on all the greatness that's going on in front of us, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I really try to make sure, like, you know what, let me just lean into this and enjoy it.
Yep. Awesome. So I know you have a free gift to share with our listeners. Can you share a little bit more about that?
I am. So my free gift to your listeners I am going to do a great closet organizing video. One, because I love videos and I love to organize. That's like my other secret passion is I get really anal about organization. So I want to just show them some quick ways that they can, without spending a lot of money, how they can organize their closet and it looks fabulous. Because it has to look fabulous, at least for me it does. And it has to be a place where I want to go to. So I want to show your viewers how to do that and how they can do that really simply and easily and cost effectively.
I love that. I'm a huge organizer as well. When the seasons change, I rotate out. And I know that this is a tip of yours, having the same, I'm really fastidious, like having the same coat hangers, like all my coat hangers match.
Yes. I don't people think you're crazy.
I highly recommend that you join and watch, find Judith on her Facebook page, because she does really great Facebook Lives and style tips. They're awesome. I know a lot of my community members have raved about the style tips that you share. So jump on and do that. And then she's launching her website. Well, by the time this goes live, it should be up and running. But it's Judith A. White, A for Apple, or A for Anne rather, Judith A. White Stylist.com, and you'll be able to get her tip sheet from that. So, any last words of wisdom that you would like to share, that you'd like to gift to our listeners? Parting
I,
word.
I'd say my parting words is have fun. Like it's like if life is, it's just not that serious. And I just like, I always feel like it's about having fun. Like if you're gonna work with me, like you gotta have fun, and it's gotta be a fun experience, and it's gotta be something you want to do. Because when you feel like you're dragged into it, that isn't fun, and I don't want to do anything that isn't fun. So I would say have fun with it. Have fun with your fashion, even when you make your missteps. It's just have fun, and it's like, okay, so I won't wear that again. So and you just you, you move on, but you won't know that until you try, and it's okay to like, to have a little misstep or what seems like a misstep, but that's really the fun and the joy of learning and really kind of what I'm saying when you create your style, that's a part of it, and so it's just like have fun. I always say have fun, just have fun.
Awesome. True that. I know you lived to that. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so glad to be able to share your words and wisdom. You're such an inspiration. And I will see you soon, very soon, tomorrow actually. And
Yes.
then listen up for more interview series coming soon.